task. Only a successfully checking in task has the ability to be able to um, update the project status. And even at that, it's not a guarantee that it's going back to healthy. It's just basically an opportunity for the project to check itself.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sure we'll hit edge cases that we need to address once we get this thing launched, I suppose.
Yeah. So the last thing, so here's the deal. I'm feeling pretty confident about all the stuff that we have as far as like the different statuses and going from one to the other and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing that I have to do on this branch before we can start knocking out the UI is the execution. What do we call it? Check for missing. Okay, so it would be check for missing executions, essentially what it'd be.
Yeah.
A check for missing executions command that runs every minute, which would just basically check all the executions and say, based on when you're supposed to next check in, have you been running for too long?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then if you've been running for too long and we haven't heard back from you, go ahead and mark it as failing or missing. What is it? Which one is it going to be? Execution status. That's the other nice thing. You can go look at all of them immediately. Timed out. It'd be timed out.
Yeah.
Execution timed out.
Yes, correct.
Because execution can time out, and then in that case, that would mark the task as failing. Yeah. So that's the only other thing that I know that I would have to write that's not even in there yet, which is the check for missing executions. And then once we have that written, which will be a little bit of a fun thing, that will be the last thing. So then I have all the events outlined in a little issue in the repo that are all the different events that can affect any of the status changes. So
yeah,
that's the start of our event sourcing stuff too, which we've started down that path as well with Spasi's stuff, and we will eventually get back to that. So we're going to eventually be using Spasi's event projector stuff, which is really, really awesome. I think it's going to be great because it gives us the ability to go back and create new projectors at any time based on all the events that we have. So we can do things like, build new execution time average charts and cool stuff like that, right? We'll just keep all the data and then we can build new projectors off of it and no big deal. So should be pretty cool. But when we're just getting it out there, I think we're more interested in just getting use cases and making sure that it's actually working. And then once it is, then we're golden.
Yeah, I think so. And it's pretty close, as you said, the back end and the decision making is coming together nicely. You're probably well positioned to do that kind of stuff because you already have the tool
internally
at your work, so you can bring some of the knowledge from there, and then I can have a look at it after you've built that side of things out and see if I have any edge cases in mind that we need to think about, or if it's good to go. And then we can probably start looking at getting some people on
We've had some interested parties. The only other thing that we talked about that I think would be interesting is like scheduled downtime.
Yeah.
Right. So this was something that's on our side. So for me, and then also like quiet hours. So like if you don't want to be bothered during this time, like hold any events that are failing until the morning kind of thing. Like if it's after this time and before this time, don't actually alert me. Like, or whatever. Because I do that on my side. It's like, freaking stop telling me. I'm not going to mess with it until later. So quiet hours sort of deal, and then also this sort of like scheduled downtime. So for me on my side, like typically like you're going to run your scheduler all the time. Like if you're on a Linux box, Linux environment, you're just going to run your scheduler. Your scheduler is always going to be running, no problem. But in our case, we actually have some tasks or some apps that are running on IIS. And the way that you run that stuff is weird because like for us, like our downtimes are like practically, it's like Thursday and Saturday, but any other night of the week is free game as long as nobody's on. Like our IT team can get in there and kind of screw with stuff. So it's like every night we stop running our tasks at like 10 o'clock. Like nothing runs after 10 o'clock. If you're going to do anything after 10 o'clock is safe time. So there's nothing that's going to be freaking out because it was easier to do that and say, just make sure everything's tidied up and ready to go for the next day by 10 o'clock a.m. and then start running again at like 4 a.m. the next morning. So just have this change window that's always open from 10 to 4 instead of depending on something to run and then IT broke it in the middle of the night and now you have to fix it when you come in the next morning or something like that. So So, putting these windows on like, okay, we're not going to listen for anything or nothing should change. If it doesn't report after 10 o'clock, don't worry about it. Like, it's fine. Like, don't change the status of it at any, at that point. So we'll have to kind of build that in as well. And that would probably be on a per project or a per task basis, I would think.
Yeah, I think it'd be fairly trivial. And whether it's project or task doesn't really matter too much. Just chuck it in you just have to key it.
Config of some sort, yeah.
Just key it. This is a project, this is a task. Don't report this task, don't report this project between this time and this time. I think maintenance mode is something that we could probably kick down the road a little bit, but it's not going to be
for sure.
Of work to get in. It's just a if.
I could leave the old ones, like my other ones, like on my current one, and just move all the other ones that are always running, which is the majority. 90% of my apps always run all the time.
Yeah.
Just put all those in and then ping me and then kind of do the maintenance mode ones later on. Yeah.
Yeah. It should be fairly straightforward. So the Laravel package that you install into your own app is pretty close. We need to just figure out how we're going to handle syncing tasks. There's the way that we have to go about figuring out what's a task and what isn't changes, and your mutex will change depending on a few different variables in Laravel. And because we're not tracking those tasks specifically, we just pull them out of the scheduler, so we don't know if you change the description for a task, for example, depending on the type of task, it will change the mutex. So from our perspective, that is still the same task, it's just running with a different description. So we need some way of handling merging of those tasks, which we can kick down the road as well. But we certainly need to give you the way, like if it's just a command that you put as part of your deploy script, that's like then ping me sync.
I think that's likely how we're going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll just send things up, and we'll figure out what's different to what we have. We'll, I guess, try and guess what's been renamed, like if it's the same signature but the description, like because we know what can affect the mutex itself, so we can kind of guess, at least give you some insight, like, hey, this task has the same name but the description's different, so obviously the mutex is different, so we can't find the task based on the mutex, but we can kind of match up within your project tasks that have a similar signature otherwise, and do that. So there's probably some discovery we need to do there to marry up tasks to stop you from having to manually merge things and do things like that. I think
is that only for like, is that for any commands? Is that for any commands? Like if you have just like a scheduled command, do you change the description that changes the mutex?
Yeah.
Wow, that sucks. Yeah. Fortunately, I don't think people are changing descriptions that often, but that is really weird.
But if you don't have a description,
yeah.
And you've got like 3 or 4, for example, if you have a scheduled job, so if you use schedule arrow job,
sure, yeah,
and then you just pass it the class name and you don't give it a description,
yeah,
and then later on you want to give it a description, that will change the mutex for that. So these are just things that little edge cases that we need to be that we are aware of. We just need to figure out the best way of fixing that kind of stuff up in terms of whatever that sync command looks like, so we can.
Because what's probably gonna happen in that situation is like we're just going to create a new scheduled job or whatever, like to monitor, a new scheduled task to monitor, and then the other one's gonna end up failing. It's gonna be like, hey, this stopped working, and so. Like that could be a little bit alarming for somebody to be like, wait, it's not working. I thought it was working. Like it seems to be. And it's like, well, it is. It's just another task. It's a brand new task because you renamed it. You renamed the description. So it's like, you almost have to.
So
you almost have to like key them by like what class is being called or what's the name that you've given it, so that you can kind of see them right next to each other.
Yeah. So we just need to. I mean, no, because part of a deploy wouldn't be interactive. So, yeah, we could figure something out. We just need to look at how Laravel constructs that mutex and then figure out, what are the things that will actually change the mutex and go from there.
Yeah.
And that way we can say, okay, here's 2 different tasks. The one that we know of that's called, some test or some task, and here's the one that is also called some task, but the mutex is different, and then we just like compare and say, this is probably the same one. Like you're not going to ever have two tasks in a project with the same command.
Yeah, same command or same name and different description.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know if the interval affects that. Like if you want it to run every 5 minutes and every 15 minutes, like I mean
Yeah.
that seems kind of weird.
It's
But
possible. We do actually have something like that. We actually do have one that runs because it's like it runs on Monday through Friday at every 10 minutes. And then on Saturdays, it only runs like twice a day or something like that, right? Like on the weekend, it only runs. So on Monday through Friday, it runs from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. And then on Saturdays, it only runs from 8 a.m. to noon because we're only in for that amount of time, right? So after that, it wouldn't make sense.
yeah, so you just schedule. You just have two entries in the scheduler with the different.
Yeah, we say run like every 5 minutes on weekdays every 5 minutes, whatever, and then you say weekends every this many minutes or whatever.
And I mean, that could be a case for using the conditionals, the conditional constraints.
Sure.
So
yeah, you can do it that way.
Always run every 5 minutes, and then do
Skip
a check
it if it's weekend or something. Yeah.
if the day is Monday through Friday, do it 9 till 8 or whatever it was, and then if it's Saturday, and then do it 8 till midday. So
the good news is though that would like in this case that we're talking about, that mutex would work for both of these situations. Like that mutex would work. It would still show as saying, yeah, you have one schedule for Monday through Friday, you have one schedule for Saturday. Like
yeah. So in that scenario, if you use the conditional to determine whether it'll never skip. It will always return.
It actually uses the conditional behind the scenes, I believe.
Yeah.
Like I think when you do weekday, I think it uses that skip thing in the background. So because I don't know if in cron there's a way to say only do it on day 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean? I don't think
just do 1-5, and that'll be Monday to Friday.
Or okay.
03. I can't say it. 0 through 4.
Cron constantly amazes me. I don't understand. It's insane how it works. So, it's quite cool.
We can take some of those cases and throw them, build some tests around it and see what happens, and then just figure out, like, given this changes and the mutex changes, what do we do? I'm just cautious about trying to be too clever and then making the wrong decision. Like, you don't want to automate. The
sure.
task looks the command name looks the same, because you might have a command that you pass arguments to that run this command every day with like dash daily, because it could be a metric thing, right? I want every day at midnight run this with dash daily, but every hour run it with dash hourly, that kind of thing. So I don't even know that we can necessarily look at that. I'm speculating based on not having looked at the framework and what it's actually doing. So we could probably figure it out from there. But I think we're running along.
Yeah. So this is the last thing, then we can wrap it up. So we're almost at about an hour. So as far as the syncing of the tasks, you had kind of two options, right? It was like you either, when you first set up your project, we look through all your stuff and we send up all the tasks. But in your subsequent stuff, we could do one of two things. We can either say, send a new ping in, like don't do anything during your deployment step. Just as soon as we see a new task come in, we say, do we have an existing task that has this mutex? And if we don't, we just auto create it and drop it in there for you. And there we go.
And send an email saying, hey, we've detected a new task.
Yeah. Or, which we could still actually at that point say, hey, we've detected a new task that's not added to your project yet. Like we could do that too.
Yeah.
Right. The way that we've talked about doing it is basically having a continuous integration step that would say, just in your deployment script, just run PHP artisan, then ping me :sync. And it would just say rerun through all those and then push up all of the ones, push up the whole thing. Basically, it would be almost just like the initial setup.
Yeah.
And then we would just say, yep, we already have all those. Oh, and here's a new one that's coming in. Mark that as pending. So don't do anything with it yet. Just mark it as pending.
I think that would be my preference, because it's explicit.
I think so too.
And it
I like it way more.
That, like, I definitely want this to happen, as opposed to us just guessing, hey, we got a new task and I guess this is something we should add. Whereas if you do it as part of the deploy, we know that a deploy is happening, and that we know that the person, the CI process or whatever, wanted us to update that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And as we're talking about that, we're also probably going to likely have to have something where you can say, with like oh dear, I know like if you have like a broken link on a page, it'll say, hey, you've got a broken link on this page, and you can go to that and you can say whitelist this thing. Like stop telling me about this. I don't care. I know it's broken. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, for whatever reason that might be. So you're going to have this idea of like, yes, I know there's a task there. Don't listen to that thing. Like it's inconsistent enough that like, I don't want you to care about that. Stop telling me anything about that. Yeah. So it'd still be in your project. We're still going to probably keep track of it for you, but we won't tell you anything about it. Yeah. It's not going to affect the status of your project. It's not going to affect any alerts that go out. It's just going to kind of be there. Yep. Cool. Well, hey, thanks to everybody for listening to our talking about what we want this thing to be. Yeah, brainstorming. Yeah, there we go. Oh, dude, I don't know if you can see this. You can probably see. Can you see on the wall behind me?
No, you
probably can't because I have it all blurred. Yeah, we had a movie night tonight.
Nice.
And my daughter made all these little posters and little pictures of popcorn and made tickets for all of us. It was pretty fun.
Very cute.
We watched Little Giants. Have you ever watched that movie?
No. Oh,
okay.
It's an older
It's
Disney
like a football movie. Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if it's Disney. I think it's like might be Universal. I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's a good one. Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun one.
I think I've seen
I don't know why
obviously, ages and ages ago.
Sure.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't even know how I got on that. Anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out with us and listening to us talk about this product development stuff. And we would appreciate any feedback that you might have if you're listening to this and screaming at your phone, being like, "Why don't you just do this? You guys are idiots." That's possible. So hit us up on Twitter at Jacob Bennett, at Michael Dorinda, at North South Audio. We always appreciate feedback. If you like the show, feel free to rate us up in your podcatcher of choice, 5 stars, and you can always find show notes for this episode at North South Audio, northmeetsouth.audio/72. All right, everyone. Hey, stay safe out there. Stay sane. And if you need a little bit of entertainment, hit us up on Twitter. We're in separate time. We're in crazy different time zones, so you'll probably always be able to catch one of us up and around. We'd love to chat if you
absolutely.
If you just want to say hi, hit us up and we'd love to chat.
Jump on a call.
Awesome. Absolutely. All right, everyone. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye all. Stay safe. Most importantly, stay home.
That's right. Peace.